Department of Human Resources, and I'm going to give you just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. It seems that we'll have a full house this evening, so if you could indicate to folks coming in if there's an empty chair next to you, that would be very helpful. Again, I want to welcome you this evening. I'll be introducing Dr. Christy Whitbeck, our Deputy Superintendent, shortly, and she and her staff are prepared to present to you this evening a high-level overview of our academic programs. They're looking forward to receiving more feedback this evening and for providing you an opportunity to ask questions and provide comments on the shorter form of the paper. That's the question comment card. We have many of them, so if you need additional ones throughout the evening, if you'll raise your hand, and we'll come over and give you some additional cards. We'll be taking these up and providing answers, and the reason for this is that we want to make sure that everyone's voice is heard, and it's an awfully big challenge in a room this large. So we want to be able to give you a mechanism for recording your questions and for them providing them to us so that everyone can hear everyone's questions and we can provide answers to them. You have another sheet that is a longer sheet, and that's where you'll be providing feedback on the specific information that's shared this evening. We'll be taking feedback this evening and again on Thursday, and then providing an online opportunity for feedback that will run through, I believe it is December the 1st, so that we can have the opportunity for any individuals who were not able to attend this evening or Thursday, or for you, if you have additional thoughts or questions that come to mind, you'll have that opportunity to go online and provide additional feedback. As you see, there's a sign language interpreter available. If you need a sign language interpretation, if you could please let us know up front. We'll make sure and position her so that it's convenient for everyone. And then I'm going to introduce our Spanish language interpreters here so that anyone who may need Spanish language interpretation can avail themselves of the opportunity.
Soy de Spanish. Buenas noches. Aquellos que necesiten traducción en español simultánea, por favor, pueden pasar a la región Misotón en la mesa aquí a la derecha. Gracias.
Thank you. We do have restrooms that are out this doorway and down the hall to your left, and some women's restrooms and vending machines just out the door to your right. Again, thank you so much for being here. We're very happy that you're here to provide feedback. In the timeline moving forward, the official recommendations will be provided to the board during the December board meeting, so your feedback is critical to informing the process and taking advantage of participating in the process moving forward. I'd like to introduce now to you our Deputy Superintendent, Dr. Christy Whitbeck, who will lead you forward.
Thank you. Good evening. It is a pleasure to be with you tonight. I know that emotions are high, but I want to assure you that we are here to give you a lot of information and to answer any questions that you may have at the end of our presentation. I do want to start, though, by introducing to you some important people that are here. You may wish to visit with them at the conclusion of the program. First, we have our board president, Ms. Rel James, who's with us tonight, and our superintendent, Dr. Charles Dupree, in the back. We also have other members of our executive leadership team. So if you're here and you're on our executive leadership team, I know that we have Mr. Bassett, our CFO. Where are you, Mr. Bassett? And we have Long Pham, our Chief Technology Officer, somewhere in the building, in the house. There he is. Nancy Porter, Chief Communications, is here with us. And I think that may be it from our team. We also have a lot of other members. This has been a collective process. A lot of members of our curriculum department and such, some of which you'll be hearing from tonight as we begin. So as we start to give you a lot of information, I would like to ask for your indulgence in being open-minded and being, as we talk to our students about, being that good listener who is also looking at it from maybe an aerial view and a large perspective, which is what we have to do when we make decisions in districts with 72,000 students. So, looking here, thoughtful solutions. Kind of a key words that I think represent very well the work that has been going on for over a year in looking at the development of our district. I found a program guide from 1996, and this is a course catalog for high school, and it only has 17 pages in it. Now we have 49 pages. And one of the pages that talks about the course shorthand shorthand and speed writing. Of course, those are no longer with us. And think just since 1996, how much change has happened. And so change becomes somewhat of a foundation for our discussion tonight. Because if we don't manage the change, it's going to manage us. And so that kind of leads us and segues into the work. I do want to share with you the Fort Bend mission statement. And those key words that you see there, inspire, equip, and imagine, and to inspire all students to reach their potential. And that's really what it's about. The work that you're going to hear about represents a lot of commitment, it represents a lot of patience, a lot of time, and a lot of courage. So let's look at what's been going on. I'm going to ask, can we dim the lights just here by the screen so it's a little more clear for the audience? If that's, ooh, that's not going to be good. I guess we don't have the capacity to make it safe for you in the back, so if we do, that would be great. There we go. There we go. Is that better? Okay. Looking at the journey that Fort Bend ISD has been on for quite some time in terms of looking for providing the very best excellence. And that's really what it's about. Back in 2012, they had a Jacob study that went in every facility in the district, looked at the quality of the classrooms, the labs, the fields, made lots of recommendations about our facilities. But other major work, as you know, we just had a bond election. Our community told us loud and clear that we need to get busy and we need to build schools for children. We had a curriculum audit that showed us deficits. Where do we need to write curriculum? What other parts of our district do we need to enhance? And we had a technology plan, and I want you to notice in that green box at the top, college and career readiness plan. And in that plan, it was very outlined, things that needed to happen for us to prepare our kids for the next steps. So all of these things that you see go together, and you see in the bottom green box, the academic program review, which is what we're going to actually go over tonight. But I want you to understand that work is not done in isolation, that the work is connected, very much connected. And in this work, we have to make some difficult decisions. Now, one of the things I've learned, and I know that you probably have too, sometimes decisions are difficult, but we need to make them, and we need to make sure that people just know what to expect. That's probably half of our battle, is being informed. So let's look at a game changer. Last year, the 83rd Legislature in the state of Texas passed House Bill 5. 2013, they passed it, but they made the final recommendations regarding courses in 2014, so that's just last winter. They are requiring coherent sequences of courses that we offer to all students. And in this bill, there are some very good things, like offering kids more flexibility than what we've seen over the past decade in our school systems. So some very good things did come out of it. One of the things that I want to point out, this is really able to give us course expansion. I think that's a key word. We are expanding offerings for students. This is not about one size fits all. It is not about dumbing down. It is not about equalizing to one playing field. It is about expanding offerings, and we will go into those details tonight. Okay, so our challenge in Fort Bend, structure. How do we reach the goal? What structure do we best provide for 72,000 students? And in the high school level, 22,000. That's a lot of students. How do we best provide that? So, the pillars that I want to point out, that I believe help us to frame the work. Two big goals: choice and structure. How many choices can we give our students that find interest for them and challenge for them and meet their needs? And what structure do we deliver? What's cost effective? What makes sense? What is our best format for that choice? Now, when you think about choice, one of the things I learned when I was first a teacher, and I actually taught gifted and talented in the beginning of my career, and one of the things that you learn is that choice is powerful. All people like choice. when we can give children choices about produce this assignment in this method, show me you know it in this way. Kids like that. They like to have choices. And so the beauty of what we're going to share tonight is that it opens up Pandora's box for the amount of choices that we can give. So here are our students, and they have lots of choices and thoughts going through their mind as they enter high school and as they're in high school about their career pathways. Maybe they want to take all AP classes. Maybe they want to specialize in a certain area. Maybe they're gifted musically, but they have choices and they have lots of thoughts going on in their minds. So those go together and they help to provide a career path. Now, the first thing that we think about, and believe me, I was a high school principal, so I understand, kids in high school don't always know what they want to do. And this is fine. This is to be expected. Some of us, maybe we all changed our mind along the way. That's to be expected too. Some kids know, some don't. This works for everybody. But we go together with all of these choices to help them with the career paths. And our goals in this work are really summarized here. How do we provide optimal student choices so that we meet the expectations of House Bill 5? How do we design programs to increase access and equity? And you will see that across our 22,000 high school students in our 11 comprehensive high schools, we do not have equity. And we have to work on that. And then the third goal is to establish systems that ensure programs are implemented with fidelity. And I'll speak to that a little bit later in the presentation. But the main thing is that we do the work well. So, for the purpose of tonight, there are many academic programs in Fort Bend ISD. But for the purpose of tonight, we're really focused in these areas. And those would be the main ones that are affected by the work tonight. All right, I want to give you a definition and I want to make sure that we have a common understanding. Two key terms in House Bill 5 that we all need to know, and that's endorsement and pathway. So an endorsement is the broad study. It is, an example is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. That's the broad study. And the pathway for that is specific. So for example, I might really be interested in computer science or robotics or electronics that fall under that giant umbrella. So endorsements and pathways. I'll show you, I want to also point out that in House Bill 5, a pathway means that it is 4 courses in that area. Now, with an exception, nothing's that easy. In math and science, it's 5 courses. Okay, so if you can just think 4, or math and science is 5. Okay, but mainly it's 4 for most of the pathways that we will talk about. Now, when we think about pathways and we think about coherent sequences, it's very easy when we think about English 1, 2, 3, and 4. Spanish 1, 2, 3, and 4. No problem, makes sense. It gets more complicated when we look at career technology. And so that's one of the reasons we have provided posters for you tonight in case you wish to peruse later. Okay. Here's a diagram that points out endorsements at the top. You can see science, technology, engineering, and math. In yellow, business and industry, public services, arts and humanities, and multidisciplinary studies. The pathways are down the left. So for example, if I was interested in fashion design, that would be under business and industry. You can find your pathway under your main endorsement. So if you look to the far right, though, one that we want to point out is multidisciplinary studies. And this is just there in case the student wants to get 5 credits in any one of the areas. So if you have your own student who might not know what they want to do, they may wish to dabble in a lot of the different ones, and that's okay. So that is also there for a lot of rural school districts in our state that do not have the resources to provide the type of choices that we do in a district as excellent as Fort Bend ISD. I do want to point out that a lot of times when we think about pathways and endorsements and all this House Bill 5, everyone thinks of technical education, and that is a very big piece. But I want to make sure that we're very clear that this is about fine arts, it's about ROTC, it's about the visual arts, it's about band, science, social studies, math, a lot of core curriculum as well. I want to give you one example in core curriculum. This one is, there is a science pathway at the top and a math pathway. And what you will notice across the top, AHS, BHS, CHS, all of our 11 comprehensive high schools are at the top. And you can see these dots. There's a dot for current and a dot for proposed. It's a little bit blurry on the words, I don't know why. But basically on science, it means that in the area of science, you're going to have 5 courses that you would take. And those will be beyond the chemistry and physics level. So you'll take your biology, your chemistry, physics, and 2 more. In the math, you have 5, and you take it 2 beyond the algebra 2. So you might take pre-cal and calculus. Okay? And that's a very common pathway now. That does not change. So if you have a student that's a high achiever, that is very motivated in high-level math science, that does not change with House Bill 5. And they can still go just as far as they ever did. So I want to point out that pathways are not always about career technology. They're about core curriculum as well. Okay, so now I would like to turn it over to Meredith Latosic, who is going to, she's our Director of Career and Technology, and she's going to take you through some examples of how those pathways work in this new system.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. We look forward to being able to answer your questions. So if you'll bear with me as we get through some information about career and technical education. First and foremost, don't lose our screen. I want to talk to you a little bit about what CTE is. From the time that we probably were all in school, we think of career and technical education as programs that probably were preparing students that may not go to 4 years of university or may not have long-term college careers. That is not what CTE is anymore. Career and technical education prepares students in many fields. The posters around the room represent 16 different career clusters, and career clusters are things such as business and industry, which include finance and accounting. There are things like health science, so when we start talking about students that want to go into medical schools, we're preparing them in career and technical education courses. When we start talking about students who want to own oil and gas or run oil and gas companies, we start looking at natural resources and engineering. All of those courses are offered through career and technical education. Currently, we have 18,000 plus students enrolled in career and technical education courses in Portland ISD. That is a significant increase from last year, which was just over 14,000. We have over 9,000 11th and 12th grade students enrolled in CTE currently. So that is a significant portion of our students that may be taking one or more career and technical education courses. Currently in the design, as we talk about giving more programs and opportunities to students across campuses, we need to look at what has been traditionally offered in CTE within Fort Bend. What we discovered was that we have a large focus on singleton classes. So an opportunity for students to take Accounting 1 may exist at this campus, but because we have singleton classes, there's only one class period of Accounting 1 at Austin High School. That means there's very limited opportunity for any of our students to take those courses. So in looking at that data, what we have tried to do is better align the courses that we are offering at all campuses so that we can give students clear pathways to more advanced coursework. In this slide, you'll notice that we are showing you 17 different course options. These courses are offered in any combination at 9 of our 11 campuses. That is what Dr. Whitbeck was referring to when we look at programs. Are we offering programs across the district to everyone? It is not going to be possible in any situation to offer every single course at every single campus. We simply would not be able to have enough teachers, number one, enough resources, number two, and number three, there aren't enough students on any campus to offer every single class. So in designing pathways, we want to make sure that we are offering students an opportunity to get from an entry-level experience, we'll use accounting for example, principles of business, marketing, and finance, to an upper-level accounting 2 experience. In this slide, you'll notice that we have many areas where campuses do not all have the same programs. It is most noticeable when you look at Marshall and Willow Ridge because they do not currently have ag programs. And moving forward, the squares indicate where we would like to expand programs. We are talking about giving more students more access to a variety of programs. By offering more depth in our classes, we will guide students toward a more rigorous career preparation or college preparation. If we have students that are interested in being the next petroleum engineer at Phillips 66, then they're going to take engineering courses. They need to be taking our upper-level natural resource classes. We need to be moving them in the direction of aligning with their core classes. A principles course or a beginner CTE class is going to be very well aligned with your first-year math and science classes, while a fourth-year CTE class is going to be much better aligned with third and fourth-year math classes and science classes. The next opportunity that we want to look at is health science. This one shows a very good visual of where we stand right now. You will notice that because we have the Medical Academy, Hightower High School has many opportunities for students to experience different coursework in the health science field. Austin High School, Dulles High School, and Kempner High School also have some opportunity for students. You'll notice that there are 3 dots under those schools. As Dr. Whitbeck pointed out earlier, to receive a pathway endorsement, the student must earn 4 credits. As depicted in this slide, you will notice that the student at Austin, Dulles, and Kempner, while they're exposed to health science courses, they cannot complete a pathway because there is not a 4th credit opportunity for them. And moving forward, we want to make sure that we acknowledge that industry needs and workforce needs are helping us in determining what programs to offer, as well as your student choice. So we have researched the information that was gathered last spring from a lot of our student campuses as far as their career interests. We are looking at the interests and what workforce is telling us we need to develop. We live in Houston, Texas. We have a very large medical community. Our students have a large interest. In fact, it is the highest interest career field among our students based on information that was gathered in the spring. So it makes sense for us to offer programs across the district at all of these campuses. It's important to note that some of these fields require specialized licensures, such as health science. So you'll notice that when we talk about the Medical Academy, that we still have a representation of Hightower High School offering some very specialized courses. If you'll remember, we talked about that we can't offer everything at every campus, but we can offer students an opportunity to be engaged in health sciences. Currently, with the way that we have programs set up, back to singleton classes, 1 class in health science, or 2 or 3. If you consider the Austin High School example where there are 3 courses in health science, they do not currently have a pathway. So under Austin High School, they only currently have 17 identified pathways. Health science is not one of them, even though they offer some courses in health science. We have 166 total pathways. We will note that Willow Ridge and Marshall have only 7, as compared to 21 at Hightower, 19, and some other significant increases. That is a large disparity, and we needed to consider how we gave programs across the district to students so that they can be engaged. And moving forward, we're proposing expansion of these programs so that there will be 260 pathways in the district. You will also notice that there's never going to be the exact same number on a campus. It's not possible. We do not have enough students to have that many pathways at every single campus. However, we feel very good about the fact that Willow Ridge and Marshall with 18 and 20 are very closely aligned proportionately with the consideration of the number of students to where Hightower High School is with 26. Thanks to the community and the work of our board and our executive team, recently a bond just passed. Part of that bond was $59+ million outlined for career technical education. Previously, in the Jacobs study that Dr. Whitbeck referenced, they pointed out that we might want to consider a career and technical education center. And I'd like to point out why this would be valuable to all of our students. And very much like you all, I have an 8th grader and a 5th grader in this district. So it is significant need for us to make decisions that will impact all students as a whole. In that Jacobson study, they talked about a career and technical education center. That has the opportunity for us to offer very advanced level coursework that is not feasible to put at individual campuses. Petroleum engineering are new courses that are coming on the books through CTE in the year 2016-17. They're not current classes, but we want to be prepared to offer your students that coursework. It does not make financial sense for us to put petroleum engineering that would require significant equipment on each campus. Other areas might include robotics 1 and 2. Those are very advanced type courses. There are some more traditional coursework, such as welding. Right now in Houston, we're being told that we're not producing enough students that can build the buildings that we're trying to have. We just do not have enough welders. So while those exist, we also want to acknowledge the students that would be taking our very highest upper end science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Culinary arts fits in there. That's a program area that would be very specialized. We will look at what it means with regard to the bond. Do we want to build a new center? And in building that new center, we have not said anything that indicates it would only be CTE classes. We might consider putting some of the upper level science and math courses that are harder to staff because of licensure or because of experience. We might consider putting those 4 classes at a similar center. We need to look at our current technical education center. We need to consider if we want to expand it and what we have at our campuses. We want to use our facilities to the best of our ability to service all students. This time, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Whitbeck.
Okay. Another area that we want to share with you that was somewhat affected by this, and that is foreign language. Because in House Bill 5, it gives some pathway options in the area of foreign language. So students can take 4 or more in the same sequential language, makes sense, Spanish 1 through 4. They can also choose 2 and 2, because maybe they just have an interest in 2 different languages. So we had to think about, are we equipped at every campus for that? So, in looking at a 5-year plan, we know that we want to provide at least Spanish and French at every campus. So the student who wants to do the 2 and 2 pathway will be able to do that. But we also know that we need to look very closely at world languages. We want to work on adding Mandarin Chinese to each of our campuses. That may be done in the future through distance learning. It may be done at a satellite center, and it may be done some at a home campus. But we know that we've got to consider adding other languages that are, as our world is changing, and especially in our Houston metropolitan area. So I do want to share with you that that was one piece of also the work that we did. Now, some schools have other thriving languages. There's no need to not, if the students in those schools are excited and interested in those languages and those classes are able to make, then there's no reason to stop to providing those. So we don't intend to make any changes there. Gifted and talented. Want to make sure right off the bat that we tell you that we believe that we really need to do a deep dive in the area of GT. Do you cluster students? Do you pull them out? Do you push in with a specialized teacher and enrich that classroom in small group? How do you best provide for gifted and talented students? And we know that it also requires a lot of teacher training. So we want to do a deep dive next year. We're going to have a full program review. So for the purpose of discussion tonight, right off the bat, be very clear that we do have a Gifted and Talented Academy for middle school at Quail Valley. It has approximately 596 students in it. We fully recommend that that be continued for next year, that applications open up here in the very near future, that would continue while we then study and say, is that a great way of doing it? Maybe it is. Maybe that's exactly what we need to keep doing. But that study will be comprehensive next year, and it will involve parents and community members as well as members of the education team. So it's a comprehensive study. All right, as we move forward, sorry? Back to the slide, yes.
Enrollment at QPMS is declining. What do you mean by that?
That means enrollment at Quail Valley without the academy has been over time declining. And so one of the reasons that administration many years ago chose to put it there was that it was kind of declining. I think a lot of the families were staying there as their children had grown up through the system. Magnet schools. I want to make sure we have common language in a few terms. Magnet schools. These are commonly used across our country, and when you think about a magnet school, it's really pretty self-explanatory in that they were developed to attract students into areas that may have been in high poverty or that may have been in a declining area. And so by putting a program that may bring in high-achieving students, that helped to balance those schools. Done all across our country, several of them in Houston, right here, right down the street. Academies are more of a smaller learning community that's usually within a school, and most of the time, when you look at them, many of them at least, are career-focused, but they don't have to be. And then the comprehensive high school is what you see in our 11 examples in Fort Bend ISD, and that's a comprehensive high school, meaning that all students in those schools have options for athletics, for fine arts, for a plethora of clubs and various programs and courses. So you have those three terms. I want to make sure that we're on the same page when we discuss those, because that's kind of going to play into this next piece. So now we get into how are we moving towards making some decisions and where were we? So I want to take you back to a little bit of history so that we can understand what's been going on. And this is in a country, not in just Houston or Fort Bend. But in the early 2000s, there was a lot of response to No Child Left Behind. And in that response, it was saying, let's look at how do we restructure low-performing and high-poverty schools, especially in our inner cities in our country. And so there was a lot of reform to try to bring in these small learning communities, to kind of bring down the size, make it more personal, and make it better for kids. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation poured billions of dollars into this research. And all across the country, you can see, you can Google it and find a lot of research on this. So this is what was going on in the 2000s. And so these small learning communities, most of them were schools within a school or academies within buildings. Some were freestanding schools, and they were magnets, but most of them were within a larger comprehensive building. And what they found was that it was very disappointing, and they suspended their funding for them because they realized that it just really didn't work. It's better to start a small school, but it really did not work the way that everyone thought it would. They just did not get the results. So what they did find was that there's this... I'm sorry, you want me to go back? I was trying not to just read. Sorry. The results of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as they did the work in small learning communities across our country, did not find that achievement increased. They did not find the results that they were hoping for, and they pulled the funding. Okay, that is what happened in our country. So now you go and you move on and you say, well, what did they find? They found that career academies were the most successful. They found that it really wasn't the structure. The structure was not the difference maker. What was the difference maker was implementing with fidelity. And so it really wasn't all about whether it was a school within a school. So in Fort Bend ISD, what was happening? So Fort Bend, at the time, around 1998, when Hightower High School opened, they opened with medical science, digital media, and engineering academies. Moving on, in 2002, Marshall High School began an electrical engineering and information systems, geographic information systems academy. In 2006, we added more academies in our district. And you can see the GT Academy, Global Languages, International Business and Marketing, and engineering moved from Hightower to Elkins. Again, in these academies, the International Baccalaureate was opened at Marshall, IB Middle School, Missouri City, Math and Science at Dulles, and Game Design at Willow Ridge. Now, in these 4 academies, results were that those were phased out. There was a low participation. Global Languages changed to Global Studies. So that's a little bit about what we have happening here in our district. Okay, sir, I'm going to finish my presentation and then I'll be very happy to take questions. Thank you. All right, so I want to back up. I want you to understand the historical perspective, and I want you to understand the Fort Bend perspective. And then now, when we look at the work that's been done, I want to share with you the timeline that's been happening behind the scenes. The work and the things that we're sharing with you were deep. They were well thought out. Whether you agree with them or not, you can be rest assured that there were boots on the ground and there was a lot of collaboration. So I want to share with you. There was a CTE advisory board back in May that worked with Meredith to talk about what does our industry and what does our local area need from our schools. And then as we worked on this whole project, we toured every single campus, every CTE area, every academy. We met with academy coordinators. We met with high school principals. We pulled teachers. We went to the Tech Ed Center. We met with those teachers. Lots and lots of collaboration behind the scenes. Now, to take this forward so you'll know kind of where we're going. The second box is 1111 Community Dialogue Academies. Here we are. Last night we presented to our board, and then tomorrow, Thursday night, we have another dialogue. On Friday, we will open a website, and on this website, you'll find it on the Fort Bend page. You will be able to offer your comments and your thoughts, in addition to the written methods that you have tonight. We will listen to our comments. We will answer your questions tonight. We'll look at the website. That will stay open until December 1st. At that point, we'll reconvene our district leadership, and we'll meet and we'll consider, do we need to make adjustments to our plan? How do we think do we have some better ideas? What do we hear from our community? And what does our Board of Trustees want us to do next? What is their direction? So that is kind of our timeline. And then the final recommendation goes to our Board of Trustees on December 15th for approval. And our Board of Trustees has the daunting task, and their approval is whether or not they would follow our recommendation regarding academies. And I'll share that with you now. Now, as we got into this, and as I have been in Fort Bend even in this past fall and winter, and had the opportunity to meet so many different parents and students, there have been a lot of emotion, a lot of politics, a lot of personal investment and pride. So I want to show you just these are some of the things that we've been hearing. Cost, success stories, transportation, grade point average, pros to academies, cons, to academies: pride, emotion. You're pushing my students out so other kids can come in. These are just some of the things, and rank in class. Those are just some of the hot buttons, I would call them, that we've been listening, and petitions, and t-shirts, and lots of conversations. And I want to share with you that those are really very real, and that those have been heard, and that we are at a crossroad in this district for where we go from here. How do we best provide pathways for students, choices, what structure is economically feasible and in the best interest of students? And so, I will take you through our recommendations, which I know most of you already know. All right, Digital Media Academy. At Hightower High School, there's an enrollment of 231 students currently at that school. In this particular school, we are recommending that this be phased out, and I want to elaborate on what that means. Phasing out, our recommendation is that students would be able to finish through graduation. All students that are currently in that academy would finish, that we would staff that academy, that we would provide support, just as we would until the last child graduates. Now, why? Arts and audiovisual is one of the pathways that we want to add at every single school, because a lot of students are interested in this today, and students who may not wish to travel to a different location for that. We believe and know that we can offer this at every school. We actually already have several high schools that do have the equipment and the methods to do that now. If you'll also notice, their enrollment at the freshman level is low at 22 out of 52, already attend Hightower. So in this academy, that is our recommendation. Phasing out, allowing all students to finish. Engineering at Elkins, 228, recommending to phase out, allowing students to finish the graduation. Rationale, these pathways can and will be offered at all schools. This particular path is Project Lead the Way, and I encourage you to Google that. Project Lead the Way, I had the experience of actually having that program in my own high school when I was high school principal down the road, and I can attest to the lessons I've observed and the level of complexity. It's an outstanding engineering program. It involves intensive training, so it is a cost to our district to train the teachers. But we believe that we have a lot more students than just this that are interested in this across our district. And so we want to expand, and then I'm going to go back to that word, opportunity. We also know that at the school, a large number of the students are from the home campus, 123 out of 228. Clemens High School, 365 students, recommending to phase out, allowing all students through graduation. And this particular academy, outstanding things going on, lots of great things. It is not a career pathway, and we can provide the experiences that are happening there with strong principalship and strong teachers. Those things can be duplicated. For example, multicultural education, Model UN, a lot of the clubs, they have some fabulous things going on. I really enjoyed a lot of the opportunity to be there. So these things can be duplicated at our schools. International Business and Marketing at Bush has 112 students. This is our smallest academy. 61 of the students attend Bush by attendance zone anyway. This pathway is already offered at every high school. So this is where we have to make a decision. Does it make sense to transport students all across the district to have courses that they can take in their own school? And that's really what we've been doing here. This school can remain strong. It has great DECA and a lot of strength in its marketing, and that can remain strong for those students. Dulles High School, 369 students. We're going to recommend that this be phased out because this pathway can be offered at all campuses. Now, in this particular pathway, and as I spoke with the principal in this school, this school offers occasionally, not every single year, because even in a math science academy, They do not always have the numbers to offer multivariable calculus or physics 3 and chem 3, but they do occasionally offer those courses. So we know that we will be working to make sure that we can meet those needs for students at each of our schools. Those are usually more at a senior level when you get to that level because you've had to have so many prerequisites to get to that point. High Terra Medical Science Academy. 567, we recommend that this academy continue. We do want to change a few of the requirements, and we do want to raise the level of rigor just a little bit, and we will be refining that application, but we recommend that this be continued. Now, the answer to the first question is why? Why this one? Well, it's a highly sought specialized pathway. It is not offered at all campuses, nor can we duplicate it at all campuses. So for example, if you want to go into EMT, the licensure for the teachers, and to get the employees, we can't duplicate that 11 times. So we need to offer this academy so that students can go through a specialized pathway. And this one does have a very long history and some strong relationships with the Houston area medical community. All right, so we want to give you an example of some different students. So where are my friends from the curriculum? And we want to give you kind of an example of 3 different kids that could be just like yours and mine in Fort Bend. And what would happen, what would their choices be? Let's see, do we have the stand? Where's our standalone line? Oh, you have it? Okay, great. All right, student 1, 2, or 3.
I'll go first. I'm the fictitious student number 1. I happen to be a star tennis player. I take a combination of advanced placement courses and online courses. I will be a member of Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah. Sorry. Okay, I'm the fictitious star tennis player at my high school. I plan to take a combination of advanced placement coursework and on-level courses. I will be a member of our tennis team for all 4 years of high school, and I will be successful in completing all 4 levels of my advanced placement courses. While my goal is to play at Wimbledon and the other major opens, I would like a fallback plan of becoming a personal trainer or perhaps even a tennis pro. I will achieve a public service endorsement by taking courses such as Principles of Health, Human Growth and Development, and Nutrition and Wellness in order to satisfy my backup plan. While I may very well be the next superstar tennis player, I might take college courses leading to a science degree such as biology, chemistry, kinesiology, or nutrition to prepare for the possibility of me attending medical school.
I'm student number 2. I'm one of the students who falls among the top 10% of my school. I've taken an extensive number of AP courses in all 4 content areas. My goals are to travel the world, working my way up through an oil and gas company where I will eventually land as CEO. I will achieve a business and industry endorsement, focusing through coursework on business management and natural resources. I will also achieve a STEM endorsement due to my completion of 5 science courses. Also, I will receive a multidisciplinary endorsement due to AP coursework in the 4 core content areas. While completing these courses, I'm also able to take several electives in the areas of fine arts, and upon graduating from high school, I will move on to college coursework in the field of petroleum engineering.
Hello. I represent a population that has experienced learning differences. I have been successful in completing coursework in a least restrictive environment, which included general education and special education classes. I will earn a public service endorsement by taking courses such as Human Growth and Development and Principles of Health Science. In the future, I might obtain a nurse's aide certification that will allow me to work in a facility such as a memory care home, or I may decide to seek further education and training for post-secondary education.
Thank you. So those are 3 examples of students who very well could be in Fort Bend. They could live in our homes. And we know that those are out there, and so are so many others, especially when we get into high school with the 22,000 students that we have. So let's look and let's kind of take a moment and let's recap. What are our next steps? We want to see community feedback, and we'll do that in just a few moments. And we will do that again on Thursday, and we will do that through the open websites. We'll have Board of Trustee approval in December, on December 15th, that will help direct us with academies. We will also have board approval of a staffing plan that will be brought forward in the spring. That's what allows us to know how many teachers we get to hire all across our district. We will have the long-range planning for career and technical education, and we will engage an advisory board, and that will begin right after the winter holiday in January, because we want to hit the ground running so that we can either have a full satellite center with far more complex offerings than we can offer now, adding on all those things that Meredith gave you as options. We want to revise the application criteria and course requirements for Medical Science Academy and get that open for enrollment as soon as possible. And that lies also with our GT Middle School Academy. We know that we've got to prepare for Principles of Health Science, Arts and AV, and Project Lead the Way Engineering to begin at all of our high schools. Now you notice I have etc. there, because even like when Meredith pointed out that we don't have agriculture at Marshall or Willow Ridge, and we need to be able to offer at least one pathway in those schools as well. So we have lots of things to do that are related to making sure that we're ready to hire the teachers that we need and we're ready to put those programs in place. We have to update our course catalog so that it is clear to our families when course selection time comes next in the late winter, that it's clear what we're offering at each school and in our tech ed center and such. And then we have to communicate, should our board decide to phase out some of our academies, we need to communicate that. What does that really mean? And how do we still support those with integrity? So those are some of our next steps. Our goals, again, reminding you, offering optimal choices, designing programs for access and equity, and making sure that whatever we do it with fidelity. I want to bring you back as we kind of wind this down and close to core beliefs that have been voted on by our board. And if you'll look particularly at the very first one, all students can reach their full potential. And in that, Fort Bend ISD will provide an educational system that enables all students to reach that full potential. So, as we look forward and we think about where we are right now, decision making is a challenge. It takes courage. It is not easy, but it has to be done because people need to know. People want to know and they deserve to know what's happening and how do we best look at the big picture and provide for all of these 72,000 students. So it takes courage, but I want to assure you that part of that is to encourage. And that means encourage our students in academies that we will still continue to provide with fidelity, to encourage our principals as we open new programs and hire new teachers, and encourage our students. You have a lot of choices, and there's so much excitement ahead for you, and we want to help you prepare for what is of most interest to you. So that encouragement, and I want to assure you that that is there, and that the work that we've done has been thoughtful. It may not be what you prefer, but it has been well thought out by people who know about students very well and who know about curriculum and instruction. Now, as we move forward for this evening, I want to share with you that you have some half sheets. How long may I use yours? These half sheets are for you to write a question or a comment. If yours is a question, what we will do is we're going to take about a 10-minute break. And we're going to allow us to collect all of these. And we will sort them so that we have people here that know most about that question you may have, so that then we can answer it for everyone. In the meantime, we'll give you a moment to use the restrooms, which are right down there to the left, or to peruse the pathways. They are color-coded by the endorsement, so you can choose the ones that you may want to be of most interest. At the end, we will answer your questions. If what you write is a comment, then we will make note of those comments, and we will keep them for our FAQ pages on the website. We will not read the comments, but we will make note of them and keep them collected. Then you also have a survey that you've been given. It's a full sheet that you can answer, and we will be gathering that data. You may go to the Fort Bend website beginning Friday, and you will have a special tab, and it will allow you to give feedback, and that will come straight to us, particularly about these issues, about pathways, career technology academies. Okay? So,
so I guess when you're considering all of this, realize that what the administration is proposing to let our kids stay there is not necessarily what the board members are going to let you.
ma'am, yes. And thank you, and I'll tell you, here's what we're going to do. I appreciate, and I do understand that there's a lot of different opinions that go into this. It's very, I think the word complex is an understatement. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to take the 10-minute break so we may gather these. And then we will come back and we'll do our very best. So if you have a question, put it in the form of a question and we'll do our best. Thank you.